Colin Firth, Marc, Maron. Nice to see you.
Nice
Thank
to see
you for welcoming us into your home. It looks like a hotel room. It's wonderful.
It is.
So I saw Easy Virtue, and it's a period piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've been in a lot of periods.
And a lot of non-periods. I mean, I don't want to be in the position of special pleading here, but I have been afraid of being typecast in modern roles as well.
Yeah. As a time traveler, which was
no, just having to put on jeans and suits, and I think why just not even putting me in costumes?
That's right.
So it's this one I guess is a period piece.
You were like sort of the existential dark horse of the film, though. So you got to wear nice sunglasses and
that sort of came with me a little bit because I did reject it initially, partly out of laziness. I just felt I'd been working too hard all night with Greek Island, singing,
right.
and thought now. It's too early to go back to work, and also I thought I'm going to have to do junkets where people see it's a period piece, and
I think I said that just to annoy you.
Well, so I thought, no, I'm not going to put myself through that again. And then basically Barnaby Thompson and Stephen Elliott wore me down, and suddenly found myself on the set one day.
Yeah, it was pretty. I thought it was a fun movie. It's certainly nice to look at. I have no point of reference for people living like that anywhere in my mind.
Well, neither do I. I think that if I were to walk into a family like that, I would feel just as alien, as she did. I think English people that I know don't live like that. And it's the film portrays that class as on the way out in terms of that lifestyle already back in the 20s, and it's been a slow death, and it was rarefied then.
Right.
They're trying to keep an old model alive. And now suddenly we're looking at this economic crisis where all the old models are suddenly being made a nonsense. And I'm suddenly seeing a new relevance to the film which I never would have imagined it had. Pretending you got money, putting the facade up, saying we're going to carry on with this old life no matter what.
Right.
We've got leaders around the world who have got no alternative model.
And just rationalizing as they take the furniture out.
Absolutely.
It
hasn't quite come home to roost yet, so we're just carrying on and flying blind.
I talked to some people who either you can hang on to hope, or you can be realistic, which is sort of devastating to take in all at once. And people like you who seem to be concerned in taking action on global issues with the work you're doing for Oxfam is very noble, because you meet a lot of actors who would rather just be hanging out.
Well, I'd rather just be hanging out. I don't. I actually just think you do whatever occurs to you as necessary when it comes along. I mean, if an old lady falls over in the street, you just walk past.
Well, you can help her laugh. Some people laugh.
Well, they might, but it's just. I don't really. I mean, climate change.
Yeah.
I mean, is that an ethical issue, or is it just common sense now?
That's right.
And survival. I don't really think it's ethical anymore. Is it ethical not to throw yourself in front of a bus, or is it just really not a good idea?
Right.
And so I think there's certain things that you have an emergency, you deal with it.
Well, you have to start thinking as a species and start realizing, like, the place we live, all of us, is in trouble.
Well, that's absolutely right, and I think global issues aren't taking place somewhere else.
That's right.
I'm complicit in the problem, and I'm affected by it, and so a lot of it's just self-interest, really.
What is it? Because you were named Philanthropist of the Year 2008 by Hollywood Reporter, and was there a runoff? Was it? Were there other actors involved?
No, it was a wonderful plug for some of the agencies I'm involved with.
Which are what?
Well, there's Oxfam, as you just mentioned.
And what's the free trade coffee the business?
Well, that's connected. I mean, free trade's one of the most critical global issues we have, and I think it's not free trade, it's fair trade, and there's a huge distinction.
Right. Absolutely, and it's my mistake. Free trade would be global capitalism, which is actually antithetical to fair trade.
It often is.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, there's sort of bipartisan free trade agreements between countries, which are almost inevitably to the detriment of the weaker country.
They actually cause starvation.
Yes, they can do. Fair trade is an attempt to put the balance back into the trading system. And as I think might have been said in the Hollywood Reporter article, I find that I'm uncomfortable with charity.
Blind giving?
Well, I think it's about, it keeps a kind of a power imbalance, if you like.
That's right.
There's something sort of paternalistic about it. If you can allow developing economies to trade their way upwards,
right,
I think they do, then it empowers them, and it creates a balance, and we treat alternative we treat the developing world as an opportunity rather than a
burden.
Yeah. Yes, and we're less likely to be attacked by people who we've been doing harm to.
Right. They have a sense that they're producing something. They have community. They have some pride.
Absolutely. I mean, when we complain about immigration from countries that we've either colonized or kept down. I think that we are all, this inevitable sort of interconnectedness.
You took a trip to Ethiopia. You actually get involved on that level.
Well, the coffee thing gave me a chance not to kind of be a windbag about it. I mean, I'm sitting here banging on about it, which is what I try to avoid. But bless you for bringing it up, anyways.
I think it's interesting.
No, you got to air it at some point. Or else
a lot of people don't know you like that. Necessarily.
No, and actually, the people who we should be talking to don't get to talk to the press at all. I mean, when I visited the farmers in Ethiopia, I felt a strong sense of being an imposter. Why am I here? Am I a voyeur?
Right.
Am I sort of poverty tourist? And I felt I had to have something to say for myself to explain my presence. I wasn't going to help them financially. I just wasn't in a position to come in and change lives. So the only pretext I could claim to be there was that I could be some sort of medium. All right, so what would you say to people if I could get a message back? Because I can, actually. I can get to newspapers and politicians.
Did you speak to leaders?
These were union guys. These were farmer collectives, cooperatives. Yeah.
And what did they tell you?
They basically said, please tell people on the streets in London and New York to pay a decent price for the coffee that we make. This was a difficult moment for me because I realized they didn't know how much we actually are paying on the street for a cup of coffee.
Right.
Because it's a lot.
It is a lot. It's just not getting back to that.
It's not. So someone's getting it.
Yeah.
And they hadn't realized. And when you buy your cappuccino at one of the high street cafes, you don't know that the coffee you're buying is actually worth incredibly little.
Right.
I mean, during the coffee crisis around the end of the last decade, the actual market value of coffee in the world went to pretty well zero.
Really?
Zero. I mean, the coffee you were buying here wasn't costing you anything differently.
It's all going into Mr. Starbucks.
Exactly, but the big multinationals, the big coffee roasters, were paying the farmers precisely what it was worth, which was zero.
Wow.
So I mean, it was gangsterism, really. I think.
So now these smaller farms are able to at least get their product out there at a fair price.
Well, fair trade, you can take it onto different levels. It's not just about price; it's also about work standards and safety and workers' rights and all kinds of things in order to qualify for the label.
Right.
What the coffee shop that I'm involved with is doing is and there are various other products which are doing this now. But very few are doing it when we set up, and I want everybody to be doing it, which is it's not just fair price for the coffee we buy, it's to actually make them part of the business. So the shares were bought up. I bought some, Oxfam bought some, and the guys in the coffee business bought some for the actual producers themselves. So the farmers are in on it. So they actually are supposed to get shares, dividends from the shares.
Oh, that's great.
So they're actually a part of the business, which is, I think, what the model should be, really.
And there's actual coffee shops that only sell the fair trade coffee?
Yeah, mine is called Progresso. It's not mine. I'm one of the directors of it.
Now, is there part of you that acts like a coffee shop owner? Do you go in and say, how's it going?
I do.
Do you ever get behind the counter and people walk in and go, oh my God, it's
I did that 2 or 3 times, but unfortunately my barista skills are very, very poor. Yeah.
So
I made the worst cappuccino in London.
So do people go I like your acting, but could you get someone else to make the coffee?
You know what? This coffee, I don't like your coffee or your acting.
Well, the movie was cute and fun, and it's a good movie. It's pretty to look at. You were great in it, and I certainly appreciate all the work you're doing to help the world as well. And it's great.
Thank you. Great talking to you. Thanks. Thank you.